Hey guys, Kelade here. Now that patch 7.2 has launched and we've all gotten our new AKs and unlocked our new traits, I know a lot of you guys are farming for AP, so let's go over some of the best ways of farming for that. Now let's just hit the biggest thing in the room right now, and that's Mythic Plus, right? What Mythic Plus should you be doing, and what ranks of the keys should you be doing? So there's this popular list going around right here where it kind of lists all the different dungeons and lists all the different AP per minutes you can do. I really want to put a heavy caveat on you guys in that do not look at this list's AP per minute, right? This is using what Blizzard's criteria for completing a 1, 2, and 3 chest are, and that is not indicative of how fast we can actually clear dungeons ourselves, right? Because as we all know, it is much easier to +3 an Arcway than it is to +3 a quarter stars on the same level of Mythic Plus keys. And that's just because it's much more forgiving. You want to ignore this portion and you want to just look at the base AP rewards that you can get with your AK, right? So let's look at this list first, right? You have Maw of Souls in that short column by itself. Essentially, Blizzard was like, hey, you guys are farming a lot of Maw of Souls. Screw it. You guys are no longer going to farm Maw of Souls anymore, and that's what happened. Right? Maw of Souls just got shafted in the amount of AP that it gives you, and it's really not worth it to do unless you're just trying to push for a higher key, which is fine. Right, then you have the rest of the dungeons. You have Blackroot, Cathedral, Quarter Stars, Darkheart, Eye of Azara, Kara, both lower and upper, Neltharians, and Vault of the Wardens. They're all in that medium column. Now, these dungeons, obviously, they're not all going to be done the same speed, but they're all going to give the same reward. So there's going to be a kind of tier list here too. But the long ones, Arcway and Halls of Valor. Now these are gonna give you the most AP for every completion. Of course, they do take longer than the most dungeons, but they actually don't take that much longer. And that's what we're gonna get into here is that Arcway is actually gonna be your best dungeon to farm with the current iteration of the AP gains from these. And that's because Arcway is generally, for most comps, going to be much easier to clear than the Halls of Valor, and it's going to be much faster to clear too. Now, as far as for the Mythic Plus levels you want to do, you want to be doing 4 to 6 if you can do them relatively fast. If your group is really geared and you can clear 10 to 14 Mythic Pluses really fast, by really fast I mean 20 minutes. Like you're clearing a dungeon 20 minutes or less for a 10 plus, then yes, Arcway 10 plus is great for you. But if you aren't able to clear Mythic 10 plus that fast, while mainly carrying somebody else's key, it might not be so good for you to do Mythic plus 10. It might be better for you to farm 4 to 6s. And the reason why this is the case is because the jump in rewards, right? Let's say Arcway on a plus 6 or a plus 4 to 6 will give you 600,000 artifact power. Now, an Arcway 7 to 9 will only give you 75,000 more AP than a 4 to 6. So the rise in AP, from 4 to 6 to 7 to 9 is not that great. So, of course, if you can clear a 7 to 9, in just 1 minute more, it's not a big deal either. You can still do that. But generally, it's going to be much easier for you to do a 4 to 6 just because the mobs have lower HP and there's one last affix. Just because the mobs have less HP and there's one less affix for you to worry about and have to consider, and it just makes the runs generally easier. But with that being said, Arcway is going to be the best. If you guys want, you can also farm Halls of Valor. If you can't get either of those keys, Quarter Stars is still pretty good too. But ideally you want to be farming those Arcway keys. Those are going to be the best bang for your buck. And for me personally, and kind of the groups that I'm running, considering that we're generally carrying somebody, though sometimes that's not necessarily the case. Sometimes the carry actually can do competitive DPS. What we rank as a really good run for the AP versus time is 50,000 artifact power per minute. If a run hits 50,000 artifact power per minute, that's really good for us. Now, on the lower end, what we consider this run wasn't worth it is 40,000 artifact power a minute. For those runs, not as great for us. So those are kind of our ranges, right? The closer that we are to 50,000 AP per minute, the better it is. The closer it is to 40,000 AP per minute, the worse it is for us. Now, Mythic Plus aside, there's a various other ways to gain AP, right? And there's a lot of things you can do here. If you're a PvPer, and even if you're not a PvPer, you should do this. You're rated 2v2 and 3v3 every day, right? So every day when you do a 2v2 or 3v3, your first AP reward from winning is double of what it will be when you just spam it, right? So if the first win I get, I will get 360k AP. After that, I'll get 180k. But you do definitely want one win every single day. I mean, this is huge, right? 2v2 will give you 240k AP for just one win. Those games take like 30 seconds. Now, 3v3 will give you 360k AP for a win. And if we just consider that the average player wins at a 50% ratio, this is really good. Even if you lose one and then you win one, the AP gain per minute here is really, really good. Now, 10v10s look really good. 1.6 million artifact power for just one win is crazy. The problem with 10v10 is first, you gotta find a group that can do 10v10s. And I think a lot of that time factor has to be considered, right? How long does it take you to either join a 10v10 group or to create a 10v10 group? Of course, if you guys have a list of people that you constantly PvP with and you guys can make a group really fast, really quickly, this is great. You want to do this every day. But if you can't, it's not a big deal if you don't. Because, sometimes I've spent 2 hours farming rated battlegrounds in the past, and that obviously wouldn't have been worth it. So 10v10s is up to you really, but 2v2s, 3v3s, I definitely recommend it. Now, as far as for casual, the battlegrounds are actually pretty good. 40,000 AP. Invite a few of your friends, and you guys can just go dominate that BG. Of course, you're gonna go for fast completions, right? If you're doing Warsong Gulch and you guys are just wiping them, obviously don't camp their graveyard, right? Get the 3 caps and end that BG. Now, arena skirmishes are okay. The first one gives you 100k. It's not horrible, but if you have a partner that can, win a match with you really quickly, this could still be pretty good. Now, other than those kind of main ways of spamming, so both of those ways you can kind of spam, right? Mythic Plus and arenas, you can just kind of spam over and over, and BGs, of course. Now, one thing that you can't spam, but you should do is World Quest, right? World Quest APs, right? Once they come up and you do them, they're gone for the day. You should essentially aim to clear your AP World Quest on your map every single day. Especially stuff like this. Like this one thing, I get to kill one guy and I'll get 520,000 artifact power. That is crazy good. Of course, you also have artifact powers like this, which only gives you 165. Now this one's kind of iffy. You might want to do it, you might not. Depending how far out of the way it is and how long it takes for you to do. But generally, I just do all of them anyways because it gives you a good break from that monotonous, farming that same Mythic Plus, that same Arcway over and over again. That's generally good. Of course, speaking of World Quest, you're going to want to do your emissary caches, right? Every day you guys get a new one, and when you turn it, you get AP. And that also works very similarly with a Broken Shore World Quest. You definitely want to do every single Broken Shore World Quest you can get your hands on. Because not only do they give you the reward that they generally do, but they also give you 25 Legion Fall War supplies every time you complete a World Quest, regardless of what it gives you otherwise. Unless it's the pet battles. The pet battles don't give you any supplies, which is fine, which is great for me because I don't have any pets that I can even battle with. For the Legion of Fall War supplies, they work almost the same way and they almost work at the same timeline that your emissaries do. Generally, you're gonna get around 4 to 5 the Broken Shore World quests, and that'll give you, around 100 to 125 Legion Fall War supplies every day. And of course, every 100 Legion Fall War supplies you can turn in to get an AP reward and a cash. And you should consider this the same way you consider emissaries, right? If you guys are going to get your next AK research within 3 days, you should start saving your Legion Fall War supplies and start saving your emissary cash turn in. So that way, when you have the new K come up, you'll have 3 emissary cash turn in, you'll have at least 300 Legion Fall War supplies to turn in, and you get a massive boost in the amount of AP that you would gain from those by having that new AK. Another thing that you can do in addition is kind of very similar to World Quest is your Order Hall missions, right? These ones are very, very important because right here, look, this one will give me 650,000 artifact power, and if I can get the bonus roll, I'll get another 500k artifact power, right? So over 1 million AP for essentially me not even doing anything, right? Because my followers are going to do this by themselves. So you definitely want to keep up on your Order Hall missions. Get your champions to be as high eye level as they can. Get them as much EXP as they can because as they power up, you'll be able to unlock new Order Hall missions that'll grant even better artifact power rewards. So definitely keep on top of this. Make sure you download the mobile app so that way you guys can constantly update and send out these missions whenever, right? Even if you're not in front of your computer. Now, those are kind of like the main ways of doing, kind of repeated AP content. You can always, of course, do your Mythic Zeros. You can do your Heroic Daily if you wanted to. You can, of course, do all of the raids, as many raids as you can. But ideally, you do want to save those type of things for that day in a week or days in a week where you have the most AK. So for me, the last day of this week that I'll have an AK increase will be on Sunday. So I'm going to save all my Mythic Plus Zeros. I'm going to save as many Elf Rs as I can. I'm going to save as many old raids meaning, Ian and TOV and normal Nighthole as I can for that day when I have the new AK. And that's it for this AP farming video. Let me know down in the comments below if there's any other ways that you guys have found to be really efficient for Mythic Plus farming. Oh, and I almost forgot to mention, I did start a new Discord server. Links to that will be down in the description below. As always, feel free to subscribe to the channel to see more content. See ya!